Good evening, my friends of Twilight of Fear. Tonight, we're diving into a story that will make you question every sound you hear in the silence of the night. A story that starts with something as simple as a phone call, but hides a secret so dark, it could change forever whoever uncovers it. This is the story of the 333 call. Before we begin, grab a blanket, turn off the lights, and if possible, be alone. Because this story is not for the faint of heart. And who knows, maybe you'll get a call when the clock strikes 333. In a small town called Villa Sombra, deep in the countryside of Minas Gerais, lived Clara, a 24-year-old woman who had just moved into her grandmother's house after her recent passing. The house was old, with creaky wooden walls and a musty smell that clung to the heavy curtains. Clara didn't believe in ghosts or legends, but she admitted the house had a strange energy. Clara worked as a freelancer, editing videos for clients, which meant she spent most of her time alone, locked in the makeshift office she set up in the attic. Her only contact with the outside world was her cell phone, which she always kept close, and an old rotary phone that still worked in the living room. During the first week in the house, everything seemed normal. Clara organized her grandmother's belongings, threw away old papers, and tried to ignore the feeling that someone was watching her. But in the second week, something changed. It was a rainy night, and Clara was editing a video in the attic. The clock struck 3:33 a.m. when the landline phone rang. Clara frowned. Who would call a landline in the middle of the night? She ran downstairs, her heart racing, and hesitated before picking up the receiver. "Hello," she said, her voice trembling. Slightly. Silence. Just heavy breathing on the other end. "Hello? Who is this?" Clara insisted, now more irritated than scared. The call dropped. Clara stared at the phone, confused. She thought it might be a prank or a bad connection, but something about that breathing unsettled her. She went back to the attic, but couldn't focus anymore. She spent the rest of the night with her headphones on full volume, trying to drown out the sound of the rain and any other noise that might come. In the following days, the calls continued. Always at 3:33 a.m., always the same silence, followed by that heavy breathing and, sometimes, a whisper Clara couldn't fully understand. She tried to ignore it, unplug the phone, but the next night, it rang anyway. Desperate, she decided to investigate. She asked the neighbors if they knew anything strange about her grandmother's house. Most just shook their heads, saying Clara's grandmother, Dona Elvira, was a reserved woman who rarely spoke to anyone. But one elderly neighbor, Dona Rosa, gave an answer that made Clara shiver. "Elvira used to say she heard things at night," whispered Dona Rosa. "She said that at 3:33, something would speak to her, something that wasn't human." Clara laughed nervously, trying to hide her fear. "That's just superstition, right?" Donna Rosa just stared at her, her eyes shining in the dim light. "Be careful, girl. Some doors once opened, never close again." That night, Clara decided to face the call. She gathered her courage, left the phone plugged in, and waited in the living room. At 3:33, the phone rang. "Who are you?" she asked, trying to sound firm. The breathing grew louder, almost like a growl. Then, a deep, raspy female voice spoke. "Have you heard the truth?" A chill ran down Clara's spine. "What truth? What are you talking about?" The voice laughed, a dry, disturbing sound. "Open the box. It's in the basement." The call ended. Clara had never been to the basement. The door was locked, but she found a rusty key in a kitchen drawer. The basement was damp, with moldy, cobwebbed walls. In the corner, there was an old wooden box engraved with symbols Clara didn't recognize. With trembling hands, Clara opened the box. Inside, she found a leather notebook, a cracked mirror, and an unlabeled cassette tape. The notebook was full of her grandmother's writings, in shaky handwriting. The pages spoke of a presence that visited her at 3:33. Offering secrets. In exchange for something Elvira refused to give, Clara took the tape and went back to the living room. She found an old tape player in the cabinet and, heart-pounding, pressed play. The tape played. The voice spoke of an ancient ritual, performed in Villa Sombra centuries ago, to appease an entity known as the listener. According to the tape, the entity would appear at 3:33, demanding someone to hear its secrets. But listening came at a cost. Those who accepted lost something essential: their voice, their memory, or even their soul. Clara stopped the tape, terrified. But at that moment, the phone rang again. It was 3:33. She didn't answer. Instead, she ran to the attic, locked the door, and tried to convince herself it was all a coincidence. But the ringing continued, even with the phone unplugged. And for the first time, Clara heard something beyond the ringing. Slow, heavy knocks. At the attic door, the knocking stopped suddenly. The silence was worse. Clara heard scratching on the wood, like fingernails dragging across it. Then, the voice from the call echoed not through the phone, but inside the attic itself. "You've heard it, Clara. Now you must choose." Clara screamed and threw her flashlight at the door. The light revealed something that made her freeze. The cracked mirror she had left in the basement was now in the attic, reflecting not her face, but that of a woman with hollow eyes and a sewn-shut mouth. Clara fell to her knees, covering her ears, but the voice continued, now inside her head. "Hear the truth, or it will come for you." Desperate, Clara grabbed her grandmother's notebook and read the last page. There, Elvira had written, "I listened, and now she has my voice. Don't let her take yours." Clara understood. Her grandmother had performed the ritual, but didn't resist. The listener was still in the house, waiting for a new victim. Clara decided she would not listen. She took the mirror, the notebook, and the tape and ran to the backyard, where she began to burn everything. But as the flames consumed the objects, Clara felt something cold touch her shoulder. She turned, but no one was there. The phone, inside the house, started ringing again. Clara tried to escape. She grabbed her car keys, but the engine wouldn't start. The house lights flickered, and the phone kept ringing now at an impossible volume. She ran to the attic, the only place she felt safe, and locked herself in again. The clock struck 3:33. The phone stopped ringing. Clara sighed in relief, thinking it was over. But then, her cell phone vibrated. A call from an unknown number. She didn't answer, but a notification appeared. A voicemail. Trembling, Clara opened the audio. It was her own voice, saying, "You've heard the truth, Clara. Now, she's with you." The next morning, the neighbors noticed Clara's house was quiet. Worried, Donna Rosa called the police. When they entered, they found the house empty. The landline phone was melted, as if it had burned from the inside out. In the attic, only one sentence was scrawled on the wall: "I heard." No one knows what happened to Clara. Some say she ran away. Others believe she never left the house. But in Villa Sombra, a new rumor has spread. If you walk past the house, at night, at 3:33, you might hear a phone ringing. And if you answer, a voice will ask, "Have you heard the truth?" So tell me, my friends, what would you do if you got a call at 3:33 a.m.? Would you ignore it, or answer curious to know the truth? Leave a comment if you've ever experienced anything like this, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that will keep you up at night. Until next time, and be careful what you hear in the silence of the night.